Hello and welcome once more to the UKGN podcast. I'm Zoidberg, bringing you a rundown of the most interesting things that happened in gaming over the last 7 days. Call of Duty is not something that generally interests us here at UKGN, but the developments in the long-running series in the past week have given us something to talk about. Yesterday saw the official announcement of an October release for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. No number, no prefix, just a title clearly engineered to get long-term fans to sit up and take notice. Last year's Black Ops 4 was considered a commercial disappointment by Activision, so going back to the much-loved Modern Warfare series, with Infinity Ward at the helm, makes a lot of sense, even if the title does get mocked on Twitter. There were a few reasons why Black Ops 4 didn't meet expectations, general franchise fatigue for one, but I'm pretty sure the heavily publicised lack of the campaign didn't help, and that's something that this year's game isn't repeating. The series troubles don't stop there either. The game that was being lined up for next year has reportedly been cancelled, as it wasn't up to standard, and Activision have apparently ordered Treyarch to bring forward their planned 2021 release by a year to fill the gap. I personally think that this is a mistake, and that there's nothing wrong with skipping 2020 altogether. It will allow the developers to take a time out and rethink, as well as making us gamers hungrier for the next release. It's a tactic that worked wonders for the Assassin's Creed series after all. Annual franchises are just one of the things that wind up modern gamers. Here's our list of the 5 worst things that ruin games. Number 5. Unskippable cutscenes. The first entry on our list is something that's thankfully already becoming less common, but it still nevertheless has the ability to cause despair. Ultimately, this one is all about player choice. If we want to sit and watch every second of a story that a game has, then that's fine, but we also want to be able to get back to the gameplay as soon as we feel we've seen enough. Even Hideo Kojima knows this, and every Metal Gear Solid gives you a skip button. But games like the Jak and Daxter series, Resistance 2, Titanfall 2 and Max Payne 3 have all tried our patience by forcing us to sit through overlong cutscenes. On some occasions it's been so bad that it made us give up playing the game altogether. Number 4. Enforced tutorials. We get it, you've spent years of your life making a game, you want gamers to know how to play it. But being forced to play through a tutorial before we start is a sure way to make us hate your game before it even gets going. Worst offenders are those first-person shooters that feel the need to tell us that the right trigger fires your weapon and the A button jumps, when those things are practically industry standard. This was brilliantly lampooned by Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, although that in itself was also mandatory. Developers should follow the example set by games like Halo Wars and Overwatch, where the tutorial is a separate option on the main menu. 3. Excessive loading. As games get bigger and bigger, with some taking up over 100 GB of hard drive space, developers have needed to devise better ways of delivering them to us. Some choose to hide their loading in cunning ways, or others choose the Rockstar route of having a really long load at the start. These are both approaches that we can live with. The annoying ones are those that have a minute-long loading screen every few minutes, forcing us to look at the same lame selection of hints, or maybe even just the game's logo, as if we'd forgotten what we were playing. Anthem is a prime example of how not to do it, taking over a minute to load in and out of Fort Tarsis. From Software's Bloodborne on the PS4 was also a major offender upon release, but fortunately that one improved greatly with patches. 2. Pay to win. Back in the previous console generation, EA sold these as what they were for games like Need for Speed The Run, but they didn't hurt anyone, simply unlocking all the game for a solo player. These days it's much more annoying when it gives players a distinct advantage in the online world. The most heinous example is unquestionably FIFA Ultimate Team. Quite simply, the more money you spend on the game, the better your team will be, hurting players who want to build their squads in a more traditional way. Fortunately, the negative response from everyone about pay-to-win practices and microtransactions in general, particularly towards Star Wars Battlefront 2, is relegating them to free-to-play mobile releases, although some publishers still try to sneak them into games after they've been out for a few months, as happened with Battlefield 5 and Black Ops 4. Number 1. Other people. Whether they are spawn camping for easy kills in Unreal Tournament, crashing into us to get around a corner in Project Gotham Racing, or turning on the lights and running away giggling in co-op Splinter Cell, some players get enjoyment out of griefing others. A recent update for Forza Horizon 4 introduced countermeasures for the so-called tactics these players adopt. and some online fighting games have shamed rage quitters in their profiles, or better yet, made it so that they end up in special lobbies away from genuine players. Multiplayer gaming will always be fun with a group of like-minded players, but there will always be someone out there to try and spoil it for everyone. Surely part of the reason that Battle Royale games are so popular is because avoiding other players is a good thing. So yes, the number one thing that ruins games is other people. What things annoy you the most about gaming? Let us know in the comments. Now it's time for this week's gaming news. If you're a fan of retro games, then Arcade Club in Bury is one of the best places you can visit. We say one of because now there's a second one. Arcade Club Leeds opened its doors for the first time yesterday and offers visitors another great selection of games. With hundreds of classic arcade games to play, including some classic sit-down cabinets, a selection of pinball tables and retro consoles, there's something for every type of gamer. Modern gaming isn't left out either, with state-of-the-art PCs and VR setups that anyone can use as well. All machines are set to free play, and all you pay is the entrance fee. We'd recommend getting there early and making a day of it, as there's simply so much to see. You should check out the Arcade Club Leeds Facebook page for opening times and prices. By now, everyone knows that Sony aren't presenting a stage show at this year's E3, but they are certainly making sure that we know they're still around with a series of announcements in the run-up to the show. This week, they've released a stunning new 8-minute trailer for Death Stranding, which still looks insane in a way that only Kojima Productions games can be. The best thing about it is the release date reveal at the end, especially as November the 8th isn't that far away. June's PlayStation Plus titles were next, which are Borderlands The Handsome Collection, complete with its recent 4K update, and the excellent Sonic Mania, a definite improvement on last month's lineup. Finally, there's the annual Days of Play sale that will run from June the 7th to the 17th, featuring a limited edition PS4 console and discounts on everything from PSVR bundles to games such as God of War, Days Gone and Spider-Man. Now it's time to move on and tell you what new games we've played this week. Chances are, if you're a PlayStation VR owner, that you've already played the London Heist segment of PlayStation VR Worlds. Blood and Truth has taken that small demo and turned it into a full-length game, with mixed results. Story-wise, it's a deliberately cliched tale of London gangsters and the importance of family, and as something to link together the action set pieces, it just about works, although the long cutscenes could have done with a skip button. You'll shoot your way through a number of locations, and while it's initially disappointing that you don't have complete freedom of movement, the action is always fun. Motion controls are also included, and while they can be annoying, some, such as using your free hand to insert a new clip, do actually add to the fun. Whether I'd have paid £35 for it is questionable, as there are better shooting gallery games for half that price, but I definitely enjoyed it. Free to play doesn't mean that a game has to look cheap, and Dauntless is as polished as they come. It's heavily inspired by Monster Hunter, but has been designed to appeal to those people who found the menus and systems of Capcom's game confusing. You'll settle into the gameplay loop quickly, going out on hunts and returning to the hub world to craft stronger weapons, and the stars of the show are undoubtedly the beasts themselves, which look fantastic. As a solo experience, it's decent enough, although for some reason it takes ages to connect to a hunt even if you set it to private. But if you can round up some friends to join you, it's a hugely entertaining time filler. There's something instantly creepy about deserted ocean liners, and Layers of Fear 2 uses this setting to maximum effect. Just like the first game, the atmosphere is incredibly creepy throughout, with some hugely impressive graphics. Only now it's heightened by the narrow corridors and ambient sounds of creaking all around you. It really is a technical showcase, but sadly the game itself is let down by being incredibly linear. It reminded me of Silent Hill in the way that every door you come across is locked, apart from the one that the game wants you to go through, and the jump scares are telegraphed well in advance for anyone who's played a horror game before. Void Bastards is yet another roguelike FPS that manages to stand out in a crowded genre thanks to its excellent comic book style and some neat design decisions. The basic idea is that you make your way across space, taking salvage from ships as you journey towards your destination. The ships are randomly generated, but most are populated with enemies of some kind. If you die, you return back to the start, but keep everything that you've unlocked. Ideas from other games pop up regularly. The new characters all have unique attributes just like those in Rogue Legacy, and the maps have a definite echo of FTL in their layout. It's free to download for Xbox Game Pass members, so it's definitely worth a look. Finally, we end this week's show with our choice for Retro Game of the Week. Dragon's Lair Trilogy was released on Xbox One this week, so we thought we'd look back on the first game from 1983. Created by Don Bluth, who would go on to direct animated movies such as An American Tail and Titan AE, this is most fondly remembered for its use of Laserdisc technology to produce a game unlike anything else in the arcades at the time. The gameplay itself was very basic, consisting of simply pressing the correct button at the correct time in order for the scene to play out. If you got it wrong, you lost a life and the next scene began, although conversions on home computers would add a mode where you kept repeating the scene until you got it right. Despite the limited gameplay, retro gamers still remember it fondly, and this is mainly due to the excellent characters. Dirk the Daring is instantly recognisable and would go on to star in various sequels and reboots over the years. The trilogy release is well worth the £16 asking price on nostalgia grounds alone, and it contains the original game, Dragon's Lair 2 Time Warp and Space Ace, so not really a trilogy then. But don't let that put you off. And with that, it's time to end. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. We'll be back next Friday at 7 PM to do it all again. Give us a like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. You can join in on the gaming conversation by following us on Facebook and Twitter at UK Gaming Network. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.